This is Dan Dicks here reporting for Press for Truth. And as you guys are probably already well aware, Justin Trudeau is having a difficult time on the campaign trail right now. He is just being bombarded with protesters who are upset with his policies, and rightly so. And you probably also noticed that recently in London, Ontario, he was hit with some rocks, or probably more accurately, just a handful of gravel from some protesters, and this had many people asking the question, including myself, who did this, who's responsible for this, and why would they do it? Well, joining me on the line right now to help us get to the bottom of all of this is Tyler Russell. He's the host of Canada First. Tyler, thanks so much for joining us here today on Press for Truth to help us understand what took place there. Now, I know you were there. You've been seen on video. We brought it up in my my video recently. So I want to get from your view what happened there. But before we even get into that, maybe you could just start us off with telling us a little bit about why you wanted to attend this particular protest in the first place.
For sure, yeah. So basically, it was a very last minute type of thing. I saw that Justin Trudeau was coming to London, Ontario from his Welland, Ontario rally, it was like 4:00 p.m. Eastern Standard Time or so. So this was like an hour and a half, before the actual rally. I saw it on Telegram, and I'm like, I want to go heckle the Prime Minister. I'm in politics. I got to get down there. I am not a fan of this guy. I think he's a globalist, and I wanted to give him a piece of my mind. So I quickly kind of got ready. I headed down to London there. He made a couple stops in London. There were some people that were following him around, as that's very well documented. So he made a couple stops in London, eventually ending up at the London Beer House. And we finally got there. He finally came out, and then that's when PebbleGate happened. That's when the pebble tossing incident happened, which I was not a part of, actually. And Twitter seemed to use myself as a scapegoat, or trying to frame me. I don't know. I have a couple suspicions, but they were saying that myself and my friend did this. Well, I can conclusively tell you, because I also have video proof, that I did not toss any pebbles.
Now, what about the guy that you were seen with? Because I just saw this come out recently from, what is this, CTV News London. PPC removes riding president after gravel throwing incident at Trudeau rally in London, Ontario. The People's Party of Canada has removed a member of its organization 2 days after gravel was thrown at Liberal Party Justin Trudeau during a campaign stop in London. The PPC tells CTV News London that Shane Marshall is no longer the Elgin Middlesex London riding associate president. So it looks like somebody has been removed from the PPC. His name is Shane Marshall. Is that the guy who was seen with you in the video?
Shane, yes.
Okay. So he apparently has just been removed from the party because they think he's the one who threw these things. Are you saying otherwise, or do you know who actually did?
So I'm not too sure who threw the stones. I'm not going to conclusively say who did or who didn't type of thing. I have no idea. I was in the front of the whole crowd there. I was like right beside the security. So I don't know who did it, and whoever did it, oh well, to me, personally, I think it was kind of funny, and I'm going to hold on to that statement. I think it was kind of funny. I don't think it's that big of a deal. I think that PebbleGate is vastly overblown, and it's honestly, it's pretty silly how big this is blown up for just such like a minor incident, so
well, that's how the Liberals
I'm not too sure
operate.
Exactly who did it, but
that's how they operate. They will often kind of pounce on these things, right away. But the important thing to remember here is often when some people fall into this idea of carrying out assaults, the people they're trying to strike down can actually use that to their benefit and makes people look bad, because right now they appear to be trying to pin this on the People's Party of Canada guy.
For sure.
And you're saying there's no actual evidence of that to date?
No. So any, evidence that I've seen on twitter.com has been, still pictures of Shane, or there's this one video of him going off screen, like kind of bending over, and then like 5 seconds later, pebbles kind of get thrown in. So I haven't seen anything conclusive.
I mean, you can't speak for him, but if he was removed from the party as a candidate and he's innocent, wouldn't he be very vocal right now saying, guys, why am I being removed? I didn't do this. I mean, you can't speak for him, but
yeah. I mean, I'm not too sure on that.
Mm-hmm. So what footage do you have have you posted it anywhere yet?
So I showed it on my live stream a couple nights ago. I think it was on the Tuesday night. So that would have been 2 days ago now. I showed it on my live stream, and basically what happened was I was recording the whole thing actually in slow-mo on my phone, because my plan was to make like a little edit of me flipping off the prime minister in slow motion. So when Justin Trudeau is coming out of that beer garden, I had been recording the entire thing on my phone. So I have my phone up in my hand like so, and then, if you don't mind, I'm going like this to the prime minister. So, both my hands are occupied. I'm right in front of the security guard there. And yeah, I have a 25-second clip that I clipped out of my longer recording of that. I can send it to you via email if you want.
Yeah, I'd like to check it out.
Sure.
Because I think these things may potentially continue. What are your thoughts on the idea that Trudeau may actually encounter some stronger resistance than just pebbles coming up soon? And is that something that you support?
No. So, myself or Canada First, we always say this because we're slandered on this quite a bit. I'm called like a white supremacist or a neo-Nazi, or I'm called violent or whatever it is. So I make it very, very clear on my show that we don't condone any political violence. However, when it comes to something like this, comparing like some pebbles being thrown into the air in his general direction, I don't know if that's necessarily political violence. Like, was the egg on Maxime Bernier's head political violence? Would the mainstream media call that political violence and vilify that? I don't think so. So, I mean, if you want to get like technical, I guess you can make that argument. But I think that it's more so, the fake mainstream media that's kind of drumming up some controversy because Canadian politics is boring. This election has been boring, and Trudeau's been getting killed in the polls, and he wants some sympathy votes. I think that it's as simple as that. And personally, the whole political violence question, it's like, there's much worse things that are going on when it comes to political violence, like Bolsonaro down in Brazil. He's been shot, he's been stabbed, and the mainstream media will still go after him, and they'll still call him evil, and they won't even bring this up.
Who was
So,
that?
This was Bolsonaro. He's been shot, he's been stabbed before at rallies. And, you'll never hear about that in, like, obviously it's a different country. But to me, that's political violence, right? Throwing some dust, throwing some pebbles in a massive crowd. I think it's not a big deal.
Yeah, so you think the Trudeau government is kind of potentially using this to their advantage right now, which is based on somewhat of a nothing burger?
Exactly, precisely. And again too, I think part of this is because just simply how boring Canadian politics is. Like, nothing really goes on. They're constantly just like slinging this mud back and forth between the parties, yet it's over just obscure things, like, for example, Israel or Palestine or any other foreign issue that's the flavor of the week. And that's kind of part of the reason why I started to do Canada First for Gen Z and young conservatives out there, is because constantly up here in this country, there's all these issues that our governments and our parties will argue about with one another, yet it doesn't even pertain to Canada. And then, when something actually does happen in Canada, as per PebbleGate, then, they blow it up. And because something actually happened, it becomes this massive thing when it really shouldn't be. So that's kind of what I see going on here.
Well, what are your views on the, as I mentioned in my video, the use of agent provocateurs, which is sometimes a tactic that the government uses, and they will dress somebody up in the costume of the person they're trying to pin the blame on, almost like a false flag. And that's what I was suggesting people maybe should look into, you guys, a little bit, because you at the time had the what almost looked like a typical conservative costume, but they ended up going after the guy who's in the PPC. So it seems like maybe this was all about going after the PPC. What are your thoughts on the uses of agent provocateurs in these types of situations?
Yeah, so I mean, it definitely happens. It definitely happens. I've been to a lot of protests I'm definitely a young guy, but I've been to a lot of protests over the past 3 years or so. And I've seen some shady characters. I recently put on my own event, CF Pack. We had Mark Friesen, Laurelyn Tyler Thompson, Greg Wycliffe, some others in attendance that I won't name. And I was extremely weary of that. I was extremely weary of who was showing up and who knew about it, who knew about the details. And part of that is because there are these provocateurs that are put up to go and mess with their political opposition. So I'm definitely familiar with that. When it comes to the way that I was dressed, I think that has been something that was also said on Twitter a lot too. That I was dressed as like a typical conservative in air quotes there, and I would say I think that's kind of like what I was going for. I want to show up to these things looking professional. I want to show up to these things looking distinctive. I want to show up to these things looking conservative at the end of the day. And, part of that look is going to be the red hat, the Canada First red hat. It's going to be, the blue suit. And I think that, bringing back, that kind of professionalism into the conservative movement in Canada is much needed right now. And, it's something that kind of goes along with optics. It's something that goes along with, looking at the bigger picture here and, kind of allowing that mushy middle that maybe is just finding out about you to, look at somebody and say, okay, this guy means business, right? So that's kind of the reason for myself dressing up, going there. I was making content. I was recording the whole time. So I was there to protest Trudeau. I was also there to represent my movement, Canada First. So I just want to look my part.
Yeah, no, I appreciate that, and for my involvement is to try to press for truth. Essentially, is why I wanted to have you on, to get to the bottom of what actually went on there, so that we can really fully understand the truth of the matter, and perhaps in order to do that. We can reach out to, what is it, Shane Marshall, or maybe you can have him reach out to me, and we can maybe get a statement from him, and let's try to continue to dig deep and get to the bottom of this. Do you think that is that possible? Do you know him enough to be able to have him reach out to me?
For sure, yeah. Perfect. Absolutely.
Yeah, let's do that, because as I said, we want to set the record straight. We want to make sure that we get to the bottom of this, because it's the mainstream media, it's the liberal government who often pounce on these things far too quickly, and it just muddies the waters.
Exactly.
Yeah. So I mean, I guess we can kind of leave it at that. We'll do a little bit of a follow up on this, and hopefully we'll hear from Shane Marshall and try to get to the bottom of this. But in the meantime, thanks for taking the time here to help us break it down. If people want to see the footage or want to start to learn more from you in particular, where's the best place they should go?
Absolutely. So I'm banned on a lot of social medias, as many conservative content creators are starting to get banned, all the censorship that's going on. So I live stream on trovo.live/tylerlrussell. I do my show there Monday through Friday, every single weeknight at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. You can also go to my website, just tylerlrussell.ca, and I'll have all my other social links up there. I have a Telegram, I have a Gab and stuff like that. And I do just want to say one more thing too, that kind of adds some more emphasis to this too. And, I do want to say I really appreciate you having me on. because there was all these, alternative conservative news sources, on Twitter, on Facebook and stuff that just immediately, believed that I was some evil white supremacist Nazi, just like the NDP supporting left said, and it's not that often that you see somebody that will actually press for the truth instead of just taking the easy routes and believing what they see on Twitter instantly. Yeah. So I do want to say I really appreciate you having me on.
For sure.
Because there's lots of slander, lots of communists that are trying to frame me as some evil bad guy right now. So I definitely appreciate it.
For sure, man. I wanted to give you the benefit of the doubt. And in my experience, when a lot of these people are screaming, white supremacist, fascist and all this stuff, you're probably on the right track. You're probably doing some of the right things and
exactly
ruffling the feathers that need to be ruffled. So, I would encourage you to keep it up. You must be doing something right if you're getting those labels like I do. So I'll encourage everybody to check out the links in the description, guys. Go on over, check out the show, and stay tuned. We'll do some sort of a follow up when we eventually hear from Shane. But as for now, guys, let it be known this young man was certainly not involved in the act of any kind of violence or anything against the Prime Minister, and looks like they are now pinning the blame on the PPC party. Which may have been part of the reason for this all from the beginning. But again, we'll get to the bottom of it. So stay tuned for that. Once again, man, thanks so much for taking the time to break this one down for us today.
Hey, thank you. I appreciate it.
We all want truth. The truth will set you free.